People are being told that everything is fine while they are being trained not to think. Economies are growing, democracy is working, and the only real problem, apparently, is that you don't trust the right side strongly enough. Hello everyone, and welcome to the channel. The honest reason I started recording these videos is very simple. At some point between projects, flights, business meetings, and all the usual chaos, I finally had a 2-hour window. I sat down, opened YouTube and the news, and tried to see what people are actually being told about the world. After 10 minutes, I was just staring at the screen, asking myself one question: how did critical thinking disappear this fast? On the Western side, the story is familiar. The economy is growing, everything is fundamentally fine, all problems are temporary, and the main villains are Russia, China, and anyone else who doesn't clap on command. If you believe the mainstream feed, you live in an almost elven paradise with slightly elevated energy prices. Then you switch to Russian and Chinese sources. There you get the same level of simplification in the opposite direction. The West is collapsing, the system is doomed, and only our civilization is still rational. Different flags, same pattern. Here is where the story stops making sense. Billions of people live in these systems. Trillions of euros, dollars, and yuan are moving through them every day. You cannot reduce all of that to two fairy tales screaming at each other through a comment section. By the end of this video, you'll see why this informational swamp exists, who benefits from it, and why the price is paid by people who simply wanted to understand what is going on with their salaries, their bills, and their future. Let's start with the basic structure. Most people today do not read specialists. They read headlines and watch short videos, not economists, but political marketers, not engineers, but media personalities. The result is predictable. You get emotion instead of analysis and slogans instead of structure. Officially, this is called democracy and pluralism. In real life, it looks much more like a very polite digital cage. You are not forced to believe anything. You are just fed one and the same emotional narrative on repeat until your ability to doubt gets tired and shuts down. If you live in Germany or Poland, ask yourself, when was the last time you saw a serious, boring technical discussion about your energy system, your industrial base, or your tax model in prime time? Not a scandal, not a talk show, a real structured breakdown. This is the part no politician wants to explain on TV, because a thinking citizen is slow, demanding, and expensive. A citizen who reacts to slogans is fast, cheap, and easy to manage. There is one number in this whole story that nobody in Brussels, Washington, or Moscow likes to say out loud. It is not about GDP or inflation. It is the share of the population that is actually curious. People who read more than one side, who compare sources, who can say, I don't know yet without panic. Here's that number. It is very small, and it is getting smaller. Instead of feeding that curiosity, the system feeds you outrage. Algorithms notice what keeps you engaged the longest: anger, fear, tribal loyalty. Our side is always right. Their side is always evil. Under this logic, reading a book from someone who thinks differently becomes almost an act of betrayal. If you remember only one thing from this video, let it be this: any system that punishes curiosity and rewards blind loyalty is not building citizens. It is building a stable, calm disaster. From your country, does this look like strategy or just improvisation with a flag on top? Now add one more layer. We like to tell ourselves that we live in an age of individual freedom. In reality, we live in the most measured, tracked, and segmented information space in history. People are divided into thousands of microgroups that dislike each other by party, by identity, by platform, by narrative. Everyone is very busy fighting everyone else. Meanwhile, the major decisions about money, energy, and war are made quietly in small rooms by people who are never in your comments section. Divide and rule is not a quote from a conspiracy forum. It is one of the oldest management tools in existence. The only modern update is that the division is now digital, automated, and invisible. You are not dragged into a camp. You simply wake up one day inside an information bubble and feel very proud to be there. This is where the spreadsheet quietly turns into social paralysis. Because if 99% of the population never trains their ability to doubt, compare, and analyze, then 1% will decide everything that requires real thinking, and that 1% will naturally decide in its own interest. For me, as someone who has spent a lot of time reading real economists, historians, engineers, and strategists, this is probably the most depressing part. Not that propaganda exists, it always existed. The problem is how few people try to step outside of it, read 9 authors who say the same thing and one who says the opposite. A normal reaction would be, why is this one different? What does he see that the others don't? Today, the standard reaction is, block him, he is dangerous. That is how a civilization quietly switches from development to self-hypnosis. If you work in energy or industry, you probably see this earlier than everyone else. You know that physics does not care about ideology. Oil, gas, electricity, logistics, chains, labor markets, they all follow their own rules. But when you look at the public discourse, those rules barely exist. Instead of systems, you get morality plays. Instead of flows and constraints, you get heroes and villains. So why did I start this channel? Not because I believe I can wake up the planet. I am not that naive, and frankly not that optimistic about human nature. I started it for a simpler reason. Someone has to talk to adults as if they are adults, not as consumers inside a digital kindergarten. The goal here is modest and ambitious at the same time. Modest because it is just one channel. Ambitious because the target is your habits, not your opinions. To question everything you hear, to verify and cross-check, to read people who disagree with you and not explode from it. To understand that our side good, their side bad is not analysis. It is a cartoon. This is not a moral project. I am not here to tell you what to think. I am here to push you to think at all. If you live in a small state like I do, this is not an intellectual luxury. This is basic survival. Small countries do not get to rewrite the rules of the game. The only leverage we have is understanding, seeing the larger picture earlier than our neighbors and not confusing slogans with structures. Because at the end of the day, only a person who is hungry for knowledge, who is jealous for development, can create anything serious in science, in business, in life. There are not many such people. And with every year of comfortable digital noise, there are fewer. So if this channel has any mission, it is simple: to make that number a little less depressing. Thank you for watching. Take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and try to remember, slogans don't power grids. Systems do.